Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this session on how you can transform productivity in your organization by bringing Microsoft 365 partner apps to applications like Microsoft Teams, like Outlook, SharePoint, and beyond. Now in this session, you're going to hear everything you need to know about the whys, the whats, and the hows about how you can deploy applications inside of your Microsoft 365 environment. I'm Mike Emerlon. I work across a number of different products in Microsoft 365. I work with a number of different partners who actually are building these applications, and we're so excited to be able to show you all the benefit and all the value you can get by bringing applications to those Microsoft 365 apps. Now today, we're going to talk a little bit about the changing landscape of productivity across Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Teams. How you can actually empower your employees with more applications that help them get their job done more quickly. We'll talk about some new capabilities that we've got for empowering your organization, things like Teams application templates and app management and policies that you can go configure to help people serve themselves and get more applications into the environment. And then finally, we'll talk about the landscape of how you can actually manage those Microsoft 365 solutions, including tools like AppSource, our Microsoft 365 application deployment experience, publisher verification, and beyond. And of course, we'll talk about some new capabilities that we're introducing so that you can actually go further, even compared to maybe where you were a year ago. Now, even pre-pandemic, there's always been this need to improve productivity in the digital workplace. Now, we find that over 20% of a knowledge worker's time is spent just looking for information, which may not sound like a lot, but when you think about it, it's actually 1 out of every 5 business days is just spent hunting for the right things that people need to know to get their job done. We're also finding that the number of people who are in Teams has actually doubled pre-pandemic, from 2013 to 2018. So this is just all of us in more teams, more different, virtual teams that spin up, maybe across organizations, maybe across geographies that, need to come together to get jobs done. Work is just fundamentally more collaborative these days. And then finally, there's just this sensation that people have that maybe they're missing information. Maybe they don't know what they don't know. And, inside of our inboxes, across our intranets, there's just some important communications that we're missing due to this prevailing sense of information overload. Well, in 2020, of course, with remote work really taking hold, the where, when, and how of people work is actually changing quite dramatically on top of that. Yes, of course, there's a lot of remote work, in response to the pandemic, a lot of people working from their homes, and the like. But we also find that even after the pandemic, 82% of managers are actually going to expect to have a more flexible work schedule, maybe be able to work from home more and do more of those kinds of things. So in some regards, remote work is definitely here to stay. In addition, during this period of remote work, we find that the average workday for a person is actually increasing by 1 hour, where they're sort of connected to work, they're responding to emails and communications and the like. Of course, that's not really an ideal thing. Nobody really wants to be, maybe connected to their work on the weekends or those kinds of things. But if you think about the fact that, more and more parents, for example, are, also managing their kids who might be going through remote learning experiences, it makes sense that more and more workers are trying to find work and do work when they can in response to this changing environment. And so it's really important for the tools that you use and the tools that you deploy to be flexible, customizable, and tailored to help people get their jobs done more quickly and more effectively. You can also add from over 600 productivity apps in the Microsoft Teams store to help enhance your team's collaboration experience. In fact, we think that adding applications is really the best way to get more out of your productivity investments. With Microsoft Teams, of course, you're going to start by rolling out Teams to everyone and delivering core chat and meeting capabilities, but you can get so much more and you can enhance the productivity of everyone in your organization by delivering those tailored collaboration workspaces that we just saw to all of your teams. Now, these collaboration workspaces can save you time and money by deploying those applications alongside where collaboration is happening. First and foremost, we see that an average employee could get 65 to 108 hours back just by making it easier for them to go find those applications that they're using by building small little productivity applications and things like Power Apps and Power Automate. That's almost 2 weeks or even more than 2 weeks that an employee can save in their work year. And that makes a big difference because then those employees can go focus on the bigger rocks, the bigger strategic initiatives, maybe adapting to change, maybe being more agile, which is the time that they get back that they don't have to spend, searching for information across a number of different app silos. It's no surprise that maybe 90% of employees experience productivity gains. This is them getting more value out of Teams and getting more productivity by seeing all of their apps together in one place. And what this really adds up to is somewhere between $8.8 million to $21.7 million in savings for a medium-sized organization over 3 years. I like to think of this as it also just makes work more, interesting and fun when you don't have to spend as much time, focused on collecting information, and you can focus it on sort of thinking the big thoughts about how to make your team more effective and more reactive to everything that's going on. Now, one of the ways to do this, and if you haven't seen this before, this is a really great value add, is we're introducing this concept called app templates for Teams. Now, what these app templates are deployable projects and applications you can add to Microsoft Teams, depending on your company requirements, depending on your team requirements. They're GitHub repositories of code, so you basically have to go take those repositories and go deploy them. But when you do this, you can really customize Microsoft Teams to exactly how your organization wants to run. For example, you can add an icebreaker bot, and through that icebreaker bot, what you can do is actually introduce people inside of your organization together, which can be a very important thing when people aren't getting as much face time in a remote work situation. There's a whole range of other additional application templates, FAQ bots, different types of display tools, ways for people to manage their group activities, all available for you at aka.ms/teams_apps, where you can actually go see all those application templates and deploy some that are great for your environment. One particular example is this group activities example, where what this makes it possible to do is for a, maybe an event organizer, for a team organizer, to aggregate all the different activities and things that have to happen to make a project come to life. They can very quickly create them and then go distribute them off to their individual teammates, and then a bot will actually help to make sure that those activities get done. So even just fundamental tasks like helping people stay abreast of all the different things they need to do, you can find a Teams application template for it. So just a very quick way to value, you can go deploy those GitHub templates, go deploy them in Teams, and voila, you've made your Teams investment just that much more valuable and connected. Now, Microsoft Teams is also designed to be customized and tailored, both in terms of the teams that are exposed and that cross-organization left rail that you see on the left-hand side of Teams. And you can do this with application policies in particular. So let me show you what this looks like in practice. Now I'm going to come over here into my Teams tenancy, and I'm going to go specifically into the Teams Administration Center that you can see here. And on the left-hand side, there's a number of different options for managing Teams. There's one specifically for managing Teams apps. Now, the first link I'm going to take you to is the Manage Apps link, where you can see all the different applications that are available inside of Microsoft Teams, available through the store. I can configure some central organization-wide settings about which third-party applications are allowed and which ones are on by default. I can also configure the individual profile of specific applications here through this picker down below. Now, one of the very nice things about this is you can also see the certification state of different applications. Of course, a lot of applications have gone through different levels of adherence to different industry compliance standards and the like. And we've also done some work to verify specific ISVs that they are in fact Microsoft 365 certified. And we'll talk about what that means in just a second. But what you can see is in this integrated dashboard, I can find all the applications that are available to my employees. And we certainly hope that you empower your employees to go use a number of different applications for their different needs. The other option that you can configure is what we call app setup policies. And here you can define different audiences. And for those different audiences, you can define different behaviors for the applications that they're going to go work with. So in this case, for example, I can say for the global audience, here's some different behaviors for apps. And I can also pin different applications, to that left-hand rail inside of Microsoft Teams. So in this case, we've got a Contoso app. We're also exposing a third-party application called Disco. So let me show you what this looks like. Now, when your users actually start inside of Microsoft Teams, you can see that this left-hand panel is customized with the different applications that are relevant for everyone inside of the organization. And as I mentioned, you can actually configure it for different audiences. So maybe the legal team, they might see an application like Adobe Sign, for example, if they're working with a lot of contracts and the like. In this case, what I've done is I've actually pinned a SharePoint portal page directly inside of my Teams experience so that everyone has the same consistent grounding of everything that's going on inside of Contoso, inside of their organization, essentially. Now, another example is I've pinned this third-party application called Disco. And the nice thing about Disco is that you can actually go give kudos to different employees based on their performance. So it's a nice way to reward people based on good stuff that they've been doing. It's got some great features like a feed. So for example, if you want to go read off all the latest kudos that have been given inside the organization, you can very quickly find that inside the Disco application. Just to show you that we hope that you find and identify different applications that you think are actually going to be great for the employees in your organization to go use. Now, one other thing I just wanted to show you is, of course, you can see all the other different Teams experiences here. In my case, I'm going to go over into Microsoft Teams. And you can see in this case, I've really deeply customized these specific Teams spaces. I've made them workspaces. I'm able to do things like, for example, embed links to, in this case, Monday.com is a task management application that I was able to connect in. I can also connect in several other different types of applications, maybe some custom applications that our IT team built. In this case, this is one for tracking suppliers, but you can really bring this all together inside of a workspace, inside of Microsoft Teams. So just really customizable. So now let's go talk about how you can extend other kinds of applications, with additional applications. In Microsoft AppSource on appsource.microsoft.com, you'll find a listing of a number of different apps, across Excel, OneNote, Word, Outlook, etc., and Microsoft Teams. Now, really, we had this concept called a Microsoft 365 app. This is an app that starts off as a software service application, typically like a website. It will use Azure Active Directory to go sign in, so you can use the same consistent sign-in experience that you find in Microsoft 365. And the beauty of this is that these applications can then also have their own respective integrations that connect back to applications like SharePoint and Teams. And so this idea is to make it as easy as possible for people to go find the applications that they're already using or that they want to go use, and then deploy all of those integrations back into Microsoft 365. And so we've been expanding the experience both in AppSource and in the product to better collect all these different integrations into one place. And so you can see this over here. There's this priority matrix application. It will show you that, okay, you can go acquire this application called Priority Matrix, and it comes with 2 integrations for Teams and Outlook. So we're working to kind of make it easier to bring these applications comprehensively across all of your different employees. Within the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, we've got a number of different ways to go find and deploy different applications. By the end of 2020, we're going to roll out this experience to every user. So within your Microsoft 365 administration portal, you can find all of the different applications that are in use across Microsoft 365. We're going to actually work to incorporate Office add-in single sign-on support. So in one fell swoop, you can enable applications plus single sign-on for your entire organization. And we'll also make it easy to go deploy SharePoint framework solutions, which is another type of solution that's very commonly in use with customers today, in one place through the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So let's show you what this experience looks like. I'm going to come to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center where you can see these integrated applications. If I want to get new applications, I'm just going to click Get Apps. And what you can see from here is there's a number of different options. In this case, I can see Priority Matrix, and I see that it comes with 2 different add-ins for Teams and for Outlook that I can then go turn around and deploy. I'm going to go acquire Priority Matrix. I'm going to approve its permissions. Now, if I've already acquired Priority Matrix outside of Microsoft AppSource, if I've already got a license, I can just go choose to deploy it now. On the other hand, if I want to go buy Priority Matrix, I can do that inline straight from Microsoft AppSource. It will show up on my bill consistently, and so that's a great option for acquiring certain kinds of applications that are sold through Microsoft AppSource. Now, in my case, I'm just going to go deploy this application. I can see all the different integrations that are available to me. I can choose to deploy this to certain audiences or the entire organization. Click Next. You can see a little bit more information about the kinds of integrations that it actually has, and so I can get more security and compliance information about that. And then once I'm happy with it, I can just accept the permissions and go deploy it. So this will go and actually go deploy the application, and when it's done, I will get an update that says these integrations have all been deployed. So one integrated flow for deploying applications comprehensively across Microsoft 365 if you want to go put these applications directly into the hands of their users. So, and that just shows you a little bit of how you can actually go deploy those apps. Now, We're also working to make sure that you can purchase Teams applications. So I showed you the Teams Administration Center earlier. That's just another way to go find and discover applications. We're going to integrate that with the AppSource purchasing options so that you can actually go acquire applications directly in the Teams Admin Center. So no matter which way you want to do it, if you're managing Teams applications, if you're managing M365 more broadly, there's a number of great choices for making it very easy to put those apps in the hands of your users. So in the preceding demos, we showed you a little bit about publisher verification and attestation. We're working with our ISV partners to have new ways to actually show the built-in security and compliance that these different software vendors have actually put together for their applications. Now, we have actually a three-phase process that many apps can go through. It starts with the idea of publisher verification. When a developer chooses to sign up for the Microsoft Partner Network, there's an authenticity phase where we work to go identify and verify that that app developer is, for example, a business with different real-world sort of business corresponding entities associated with them so that we can actually tie their entities together. Then we've got this concept called publisher attestation. Here, software vendors actually work to go identify all the different security standards and processes that they adhere to from a compliance perspective, and we show you that information in line inside of both AppSource and inside of the applications themselves. Now, this is provided by the software vendor. We don't verify it, but at least it gives you a jump start to seeing the kinds of policies that a software vendor would go adhere to. And then the final step is this thing called Microsoft 365 certification, which I showed you earlier. It was something that Adobe Sign had gone through. And here what we do is we work through with a different third-party assessor to validate the security and compliance of the organization. We validate that all the different standards that the software vendor has attested to are verified. And we also ensure that there's other practices, things like other different standards and best practices that the software vendor has adhered to. So there's some level of verification and attestation and certification. These are all different options that software vendors can take advantage of. Through experiences like AppSource, you can actually see that information straight in line and expect more software vendors to actually provide this information over to Microsoft. So just working to make it easier for you to find the right apps that fit inside of your organization. Now, some of the security standards that Microsoft 365 certification actually correspond to, it's things like, making sure that they're adhering to operational security best practices, doing things like anti-malware scanning, patch management, etc. We're working to make sure that those software vendors actually do things like data handling and security and privacy to industry best practices, things like least privilege concepts and the like. And then we're also working to validate, if they have it, adherence to external compliance frameworks like, for example, ISO 27001 or SOC 2. As we discussed, we're adding new capabilities to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center that you can go deploy new SharePoint framework solutions, in addition to all the other types of solutions, Office add-ins and Microsoft Teams add-ins. And we're also adding single sign-on support. So in one click, as I mentioned, you can actually deploy an application, you can approve the right permissions, and then when the users experience that add-in inside of an application like Word or Outlook, they can actually not need to go sign in separately. They can use the existing sign-ins that they're already using for Microsoft 365. So a really streamlined experience. So let me show you what this looks like in practice. I'm going to come back to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. I'm going to go click Get Apps. And from here, I'm going to see the list of applications that apply to SharePoint. I can see a number of new SharePoint framework solutions here since we've just opened that up a couple of months ago. And in this case, I'm going to go choose Navigator 365 by SharePoint-a-List. I'm going to click Get It Now, go accept the permissions. And in this case, you're going to see that, okay, when I go deploy a SharePoint application, it's going to go to all site administrators by default, and they can go then manage that experience in their SharePoint sites. I'm going to click the entire organization. I'm going to go look at the different permissions that this SharePoint framework solution requires in order to work. And if I like it, I can go click Next. This will then go kick off the deployment process. And from there, this will then go be inside of SharePoint for people to go access. Now, additionally, I can also go accept the permissions from here, so that, this is also pre-flighted for the different users inside of your site experience. And then once I'm done, this application is now in this integrated app management experience. I can come back to the site and actually go manage the application further from here. So in this session, you've seen a number of ways to actually empower your organization with different types of applications and management solutions. We talked about the set of applications you can deploy through Teams application templates. We talked about different ways to go make those applications visible to your entire organization through app management and policies. Then we also talked about the new integrated Microsoft 365 solution management options through AppSource and through Microsoft 365 application deployment. And we also talked a little bit about some new capabilities like SharePoint Framework solution deployment. Now, to get started, go take a look at all those different Teams application templates at aka.ms/teams_apps. Go take a look at all the different partner applications that are available across Microsoft 365 through Microsoft AppSource at appsource.microsoft.com, and go work to configure the right trusted partner app regimen and partner applications for your organization. Chances are you've already are using a number of these different applications that have integrations today, so you can get more value very quickly by deploying those applications that you're already using inside of Microsoft 365 inside of your organization. Thanks for attending our session. We hope you come away inspired about the power of applications and how they can help improve the productivity in your organization. Thanks.